Shawn McDermott, numbers 28 and 10 of the class of 1993, transferred to LaSalle from the North Penn School District after his sophomore year. McDermott made an immediate impact in the defensive backfield in his junior year, as the 1991 squad went undefeated in their first 10 games. Shawn McDermott had a nose for the football, was a solid tackler, and he came away with several interceptions in his first year at LaSalle, notching first-team All-Catholic honors as a D-back. In his senior year, McDermott was expected to lead the defensive backfield, but Coach Joe Callistra had additional duties in mind. McDermott was pressed into extra service as the Explorer quarterback, trading in his number 28 for number 10, brought out of mothballs from when Jack Stanzak wore it. McDermott was a smart, versatile signal caller with a decent arm, good decision-making skills, and the ability to bootleg when required. He was on the winning end of a couple of nail-biters, and while still excelling in the defensive backfield and winning All-Catholic honors again, he stepped up to success as a quarterback when the team really needed him. So when you think about LaSalle football, remember Shawn McDermott, class of 1993. Rue Greco, number 26 of the class of 1957, was an excellent back on the 1956 team that was caught between the glory years of 1955 and 1957. Greco saw some mop-up time for the 1955 squad, but he came into prominence in an opening day thrashing of West Catholic in 1956. Rue Greco was part of the Pony backfield in 1956, featuring other smallish backs such as junior quarterback Paul Eta and backs Eddie Dever and junior Johnny Herrera. While Dever and Herrera were workhorses in rushing situations, Greco excelled at flanker, becoming a dynamic weapon at the other end of Paul Eta passes. Greco also doubled as a solid defensive back, batting away long passes and making sure tackles. But he didn't stop there, as he added punting and place-kicking duties in his senior year, keeping busy at all four positions. His backfield play earned him second-team All-Catholic accolades. Rue Greco was one of LaSalle's first great receivers, a predecessor of the current crop of LaSalle ends and flankers. He had a knack of breaking free on long pass patterns, and Eta found him for many incredibly long gains in the 1956 season. Many of Greco's catches and runs to the far end zone in McCarthy Stadium made it look like he was heading into Worcester Woods. So when you think about LaSalle football, remember Rue Greco, class of 1957. Joe Migliarese, number 23 of the class of 2008, was the quintessential tight end at 6 foot 5 inches and 218 pounds. Except he didn't play tight end. He was a dominant wide receiver in the mold of a Harold Carmichael. Migliarese played with a fire and a passion that some big men don't have, and he ran crisp routes, using his big frame as a shield to keep the defensive backs from getting to the ball. Joe Migliarese also specialized on the old alley-oop plays, using his height and his frame to box out his defenders as he would come down with the football in the end zone for another touchdown. He won second-team All-Catholic honors as a junior in the 2006 season, but he was injured in the 6th game of his 2007 senior year and couldn't play the rest of the season. If he stayed healthy, he no doubt would have set some LaSalle receiving records based on his production in 2006. And what production it was, as LaSalle broke out to a 7-0 record, threatening to unseat St. Joe's Prep for the title, but the Explorers then lost their next 3 games. In the quarterfinal playoff game against Cardinal O'Hara, the Blue and Gold were in a dogfight with the Lions as the game headed into overtime. O'Hara scored first, made their extra point, and LaSalle struggled to face a 4th down inside the 5. Quarterback John Harrison fired a quick look into Migliarese for a touchdown, and then Coach Drew Gordon gambled this season to go for 2. Joe Migliarese's leaping catch of a high pass from Harrison just inside the sideline of the end zone won the game, creating a defining moment in LaSalle football history. 2 weeks later, Migliarese caught a touchdown pass in the upset of St. Joe's Prep, 14-7, as LaSalle won the Catholic League for the first time since 1998. So when you think of LaSalle football, remember Joe Migliarese, class of 2008. Dave Asman, of the class of 1978, was a dual threat star for the 1976 and 1977 teams. In his junior year of 1976, Aspen was the starting quarterback of Tex Flannery's best team of the 70s, that went 9-2 and challenged for the playoffs. Asman's greatest talent was in running an option, where often he kept the ball and made good progress up the field. His bootlegging in 1976 kept the team in good field position, as the offense concentrated on a ground and pound attack with many scores in the single digits. In his senior year, Aspen was on the other side of the ball as a stellar defensive back, as he garnered first-team All-Catholic honors. Dave Aspen almost led the Explorers to a playoff berth in his junior year, but the team fell short. Aspen then went on to have his greatest day as a quarterback in the 1976 season finale, the inaugural Thanksgiving Day game against St. Joseph's Prep. The offense was opened up that day, and Aspen's 3 touchdown passes led the Blue and Gold to a convincing 27-0 trouncing of the Hawks, putting some salve on the wounds of a team that just missed the playoffs. So when you think of LaSalle football, remember Dave Asman, class of 1978. Brian Parfitt, numbers 33, 7, and 2, of the class of 2001, was as explosive an offensive force as LaSalle has ever had. At 5 foot 8 inches and 170 pounds, Parfitt's abilities, despite his limited size, harkened back to such greats as Johnny Herrera and Eddie Meehan, and he preceded similar players such as Sean Coleman and Nick Ranella. Parfitt was first used as a successful kick returner, and in his junior and senior years was used as an all-purpose back, taking handoffs and also lining up wide and beating defensive backs like a drum. Quarterback and classmate Gabe Marabella used Parfitt in many different formations, and Parfitt starred in many roles, being able to run the ball inside, sweeping wide and either beating his man on the edge or providing a razor-sharp cutback against the grain, and he also was a dynamic weapon wide in the slot, relentlessly beating the defensive back stuck in one-on-one coverage. Ryan Parfitt was a game breaker, lighting up the scoreboard with long touchdown runs on plays designed for just a few yards. He had ability to take a short pass, make a few tacklers miss, and zigzag his way down the field and into the end zone. and he was prolific on deep patterns, knowing where the ball would end up as the defensive backs were unable to do so. Parfitt was a two-time All-Catholic who was one of the most explosive players in the league, and he was a package of dynamite in the LaSalle backfield during the turn of the century. So when you think about LaSalle football, remember Ryan Parfitt, class of 2001.